And
This is killing me now. You're tipping Cavan.
Yeah.
Getting there, Cian. I'm getting there. You better get nervous.
I'm going to put money on Westmeath
Yeah,
if he tips Cavan. Hi there, you're very welcome along to the G Hour with me, Darran O'Sullivan, and thanks to Irish Rail, I'm stuck in Kerry, and I'm joined today from Donegal, Eamon McGee, and Cian Mackey has taken over my seat in the studio, and do not get too comfortable there, Cian, and I can see you've put an extra pillow underneath your arse there to make you that bit taller. I can see it all right. How are we doing, boys?
All good, all good. Very comfortable up here.
Yeah, and Eamon, I'm presuming you're getting dog's abuse for your effort in the skills challenge.
Not at all, because it just went as we all would expected it would go now. So the only thing about it, in terms of the coaching part of it, if any of the young fellas I would have been coaching down through the years pulled off some of the techniques, you would just put the red pen through their names. So that's I've lost out on a bit of that. I can't give out to anybody anymore.
Look, it's all with a crack. I can see Cian there is trying to hold in the laughter, but we'll see how you get on. I think your attempts are coming out this week on social media, Cian, so you might have to keep your powder dry, or maybe, who knows? You might be like a lot of the Cavan forwards yesterday, chipping it over the bar, no bothers.
No, that's why they're going well, is because I'm gone. I was a bad shooter at the best of times.
It's all about the assists, like Trent Alexander.
Yeah, can we have an assist challenge? Maybe that might suit us a wee bit better.
I think we might.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, I think the three of us know that it suit us. But it was a good weekend of football action. Tailteann Cup was on, front and centre. Do you know what? It was actually interesting this weekend with RTE showing both games. It was the first time in, I couldn't tell you how long, that it was all positive about the analysis and the lads that were on and the co-commentary and everything. So it was actually great to actually not have anything negative going on the weekend. But Cian, you must have been delighted. It was a win. Wasn't as convincing maybe as a lot of people thought it was going to be. And I suppose with the start Cavan got, it looked like it was going to be a bit easy. But from a neutral point of view, it was brilliant to watch.
Yeah, like from going into the match, from watching, we'd say, Sligo through the league and stuff like that, I thought going forward they were very, very dangerous, but defensively they were going to come under pressure. But they really, like, their matchups, like Paddy Lynch was really, really held very tight for the whole 70 minutes, which was a huge surprise. And we got a lot more from our wing forwards in midfield, getting our scores, and half backs, which was good to see. But I think the most disappointing thing was the goal chances we gave away the whole way through. Maybe the National League and the Tailteann Cup, we were fairly solid in that respect. So I'd say, like, management will definitely look at that to tighten up, especially the way Westmeath came through Offaly as well. So them goal chances can't be given away in the final. So look at all in all, 20 points, 17 from play, I think it was. Maybe 12, 13 different scores. I think it was 11 different scores in the first half. That's a huge bonus. You're not over reliant on one or two to get 7 or 8 points. So that makes it a lot harder for Westmeath to kind of pin down any single player. Paddy Lynch was kept quiet, and we still kicked 20 points. So like that's the type of thing that will be really, really positive for the Cavan management team and like for supporters. It's another big day out in Croke Park, and there's a huge buzz. Like, I went in to get a sandwich in Virginia at 9:30, 10 o'clock Sunday morning, and it was chocker blocked. Like, people's buying into to go and support the team as well, which is huge.
Yeah, and like you said there, they actually had 11 different scores from the 11 scores they got in the first half. And I suppose you were probably like myself after watching the first 15 minutes. They're up 6-0. Sligo finally got their first point on the board. I thought it was just going to be a bit of a stroll, a dominant performance by them. But it was impressive by Sligo. They dug deep and they made a good game of it. And like Cian said, if they'd taken even one or two of them goal chances, it would have made a right game, because it would be interesting to see how Cavan actually reacted to it.
Yeah, definitely. When we were going, Cavan went 6-0 up there, and I was just thinking to myself, this is the last thing the Tailteann Cup needs. Showpiece in Croke Park, decent crowd at it, and they just need a game now to match it. There's a good wee buzz about it, as well marketed. But in fairness to Sligo, dug deep, and as Cian says, Cavan will be looking at some of the goal chances they coughed up, because when you look through them chances, you probably say Cavan were a wee bit lucky coming out of it now, but they progressed, and it was good to see the way the players and to see the likes of McKiernan celebrate the scores, and to show it wasn't a matter of just coming out and smiling and it's just another game. It meant something to them, and it meant the way they played, the way that both teams acquitted themselves. It meant something, and once you see that, once the supporters see that, that's when they'll buy into it. If they see the players really going at it, and it means something to them, it's then contagious to the supporters.
Yeah, and I think McKiernan actually described it as an All Ireland semi final after the game, which was actually great, because that's exactly what it was. So that was good, and like even the interviews before the game, like they were all positive. Fellas are delighted. Even Heston will talk about the other game later, but they're all buying into their good games. But Cian, for the penalty, there was talks of it being outside the box. I suppose you'll have your Cavan hat on, but what were you thinking?
Look, it's one of them ones. Momentum is going to take them well inside the box. If it was a Cavan penalty, you'd be calling it all day long. Like so,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was really giving out about it. Like it was borderline either way. So you kind of give the benefit of the doubt. Like if it was a wee bit further out, you might have a bit of an argument. But we were probably lucky not to give away another penalty. We spoke about kind of a foot block incidents in the Monaghan Mayo game, and I think we were quite lucky not to give away a penalty near the end. I think it was Killian the gunner just was stretching across, and his leg got in the way, and your man, not sure who it was, kicked the back of his leg. Like that for me would be more of a foot block. But look, we were counting our lucky stars at that stage that it wasn't, because that would have given them serious momentum going into the last couple of minutes, and it was tight enough as it was. If they had got a goal at that time, it would have been a lot of digging deep to pull it out for Cavan then. But look, it's little decisions like that kind of change games. But I don't think Sligo were complaining for a penalty either, so it might have been just as bad as it looked maybe on the TV.
Yeah, and Eamon, from a Sligo point of view, look, I suppose it was a lot of positives. I suppose the negative is they could have chipped in with an awful lot more scores. I think I don't know, was it nerves or what was it at the start, but Pat Spillane started midfield, and like he is a bit of a chip off the old block with his engine. In fairness, he chipped in with a couple of scores, and he spent most of the year kind of coming off the bench. But I was impressed with him. Like he's a fella now who obviously he left his own club down here, Temple, to go up to St Jude's in Dublin. And by all accounts, when he joined the club, he was kind of playing with their second team, and COVID came, and I suppose he put the head down and did a lot of training with a speed or a sprint coach. But I was really impressed with him, and it just goes to show, like, some fellas who mightn't get the chances maybe in a stronger county, they go off and they find their feet. But I thought he was very good yesterday.
Yeah, he seems to be a baller now. Like you need to ask the question, why wasn't he involved from earlier on in the season? He would have been featuring at stages now, but he probably one of these boys that just needs to. He's overshadowed because there's so much talent with Kerry, and it seems to be there's good players within good counties that just don't get the chance. And I'm not necessarily a massive fan of. If it's genuine work reasons and, family reasons, you go to another county, but not, the lure of a medal or anything like that there. So I don't know what Spillane's case is now, but it's when an opportunity like that comes for someone like Spillane, it's a great opportunity to be able to go out and express yourself, and, maybe show the lads down about your neck of the woods that, I am a baller here. I probably did deserve a chance. So, it's nice. It's nice to see. It's nice to see for him.
Yeah, no, I suppose I wouldn't be big into transfers, but I suppose a lot of fellas know, and if they're down the country, they have to move to Dublin for work, and it's very hard to get a club player to be up and down for the club and to get the opportunity then to play county. And obviously, we have Conor Cox playing for Roscommon and doing the business there, and just maybe just under the pecking order down in stronger counties. It's always good to get a crack somewhere else. But for Sligo, like, I think the Tailteann Cup has been brilliant for them the last couple of seasons. They've only had one championship game, and obviously going into this competition, Cian, more time together, getting a chance to get young lads in there, get a run of games, build momentum like that. The buzz going to Croke Park in the heart of the summer with a chance to get to a final. And look, they fell short in the end, but you'd imagine it's only going to benefit them going forward now, Cian.
Yeah, look at even watching their forward play. It's very, very good. Like they opened us up 2 or 3 times with beautiful kick passes. Like, so there's talent there without a doubt. And you probably lose talented players years ago when, as you say, you get one championship match here or there, and lads kind of fall out of love, going like, I'm training like a dog here for this, and are gone. Like, so, like, it was really good. And you kind of look at it. They were brought to a point with London, and then last week or the week before with Leitrim brought to extra time, and next of all the Titan Cavan, who Cavan were classed as the red hot favourites. So it just shows there's not a huge gap there. Like when Sligo were only beating London by a point, and then they're Titan and Cavan, like there's not a massive gap at the minute in the Tailteann Cup. But it's a huge thing, and I think it was Keith Byrne on RTE was saying like how much of a big thing it was for them to try and get to Croke Park. When we say when a Croke Park's not full, it's no good. But for the like of the Tailteann Cup, if you can get the game to Croke Park, it's huge for the player, because lads like that don't get the chances to play in Croke Park as much as, we'll say, the Mayo and Kildare. Like, them games don't need to be in Croke Park. Them boys get games in Croke Park at least probably once a year or once every 2 years. So I think for the Tailteann Cup, the lure of Croke Park is massive. Like back when, I think it was 2012 or 13 was probably my first time playing in Croke Park, and we got London in the last 16, and it was said it was going to be in Croke Park. We were delighted. Like, that was the big thing. We didn't want it anywhere else but Croke Park. I had never played in Croke Park up until then, so it was a huge carrot for us when we got there and it was named to be in Croke Park. That was brilliant. We got playing in Croke Park twice that year. So for teams who are trying to build, getting them into Croke Park is a huge thing, and lads will train and fight for a competition with the chance to play in Croke Park and a chance to win silverware.
That's the debate, Cian. We would have mentioned this, I think it was last week, we talked about what's the best thing. We have the players' perspective and the team perspective, and they're all about, and I agree 100% with you, it's all about Croke Park. But then from an atmosphere perspective, and you're taking a young fella to, 15,000 doesn't fill Croke Park at all. And that young fella, what experience is he going to get? So there's a whole debate there in terms of what's the best route to go. And, you've made the case, I would make the case that we should be taking them into tighter grounds. And you're saying there the Croke Park you make a strong case there against me.
Yeah, well,
as you normally do.
I'd firmly believe like the earlier rounds build up the atmosphere and have the tight pitches and the crowd. But there always has to be a carrot. The carrot can't be always just for the final. Like, there's only 2 teams getting to that. The carrot is Croke Park for these teams. Now, in a couple of years' time, when the Tailteann Cup is really, really flowing, and Leitrim and Sligo and Wexford have played in Croke Park 4 or 5 times, when everyone's starting to get that, then you can start thinking, right, everyone's getting their fair share of games in Croke Park, then we can start looking at atmosphere. But like, kids still love, like, walking up to the stadium at Croke Park, even when it's not full. You can imagine yourself as a cub walking up and seeing this stadium. Like, you're still going to remember that moment walking in. It'll be better when it's full, without a doubt. But you imagine you 8 or 9 years of age walking up, like, this is like walking to the new camp for them kids, So like, there's different ways. Look, I agree with your point too. The atmosphere is huge, but I think you have to look at the players at the moment, their perspective, and they want to play in Croke Park, because there's many a player back over the last 15, 20 years never ever got to play in Croke Park because it was only the real big occasions. And look, I was 25 or 26, I think it was, before I got to play in it, and I was half thinking to myself, I might never get playing it. Now, I was lucky enough to play in it maybe 6 or 7 times after the fact, but it's still one of them things that players, you want to play in the Coliseum that is Croke Park, whether it's full or half empty. You still want to get a run out and say you played on it. So It's just it's a big thing for the Tailteann Cup, I think, anyway.
Oh yeah, and like that, it is semi-finals and finals, and I think it kind of makes a difference too with the counties as well. Obviously, you know, if you're from one of the bigger counties and you're bringing the young lad there and there's no atmosphere, obviously, you know there would be another day where the atmosphere is going to grow. But for a lot of the counties, let's say, are getting to the Tailteann Cup semi-final or final, it might be their first time, the players and the supporters getting a chance to go to Croke Park. And I suppose it's one of them situations where I'll be stuck on the fence because you can see arguments from both sides. But look, it's brilliant for the Tailteann Cup to have the semi-finals. I actually think going forward, it might be an idea that only semi-finals and finals, but it's going for the Sam Maguire, the Tailteann Cup should be in Croke Park. You know, like that is your carrot at the end of the stick. And I mentioned it, I think it was last week about the FA Cup. They kind of diluted Wembley by bringing quarterfinals and other games to it. You know, make it special and bring the games all over the place. But the reward should be you get to a semi-final or final, and you get into Croke Park. But just getting back to the game, a big moment in the game was actually Niall Murphy coming off the bench. It would have been interesting to see how close they would have been if he'd actually started the game, because his movement was outstanding. The boys were kicking it. It was actually such an enjoyable game to watch, in terms of just the free flowing and the direct play going in. But he had 4 points, and I think he was involved in 2 other scores as well. Like, so that's a big impact off the bench, and it'd be interesting if they could have chanced him maybe from the start. I'm not sure how bad the hamstring injury was.
It seemed to be going all right, and
yeah,
it seemed that this is the debate we have. Why, if you're going to bring him on, you know, full pelt, why not start him? Maybe they were holding back and saying, we'll see how we get on. Do we need him? And once we need him, we'll throw him on and possibly save him for, you know, a potential final. But, you know, he definitely made a difference, and he's someone that has that caliber. You know, quality forwards that are going to cause bother, going to win ball, you know, going to, you know, scoring threat are just hard to come by. You know, we go back to what we're talking about, the skills competition. You know,
yeah,
we can all do the assists, but it's actually putting the ball over the bar and becoming a threat. That's the big one, and that's the key to the, you know, successful teams, as they have few forwards. They're real threats, and, you know, it's not just one singular now. It's multiple threats, and, you know, Niall Murphy, you know, he fits that bill. And probably, you know, management are going to make the best call because they want to be in the final as much as anybody, and they probably thought they weighed up the pros and cons to it, and says, you know, we'll hold back with Murphy now. But it would have been interesting to see, you know, they talk about the goal chances. If there was someone that had that head on them up and around that area, and, you know, those goal chances could have been, you know, goals.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, going forward, I suppose if Cavan are back in the final, well, I say back in the final, they're in the final. We all expect them to get there from the start. But the more I actually listen to Mickey Graham, Cian, the more I like him. He comes across as such a good manager, like just so decent guy. I was just to an interview he had before I think it was the day before the final, and he more or less saying, look, this is the level we found ourselves at. You know, once the championship went, we decided we're going to focus solely on it. And he kind of described it as like the club scene with the intermediate and the UEFA Cup in the soccer. He goes, to get to the next level, you have to beat what's put in front of you. And I just, like, he could have kind of thrown ties out of the pram, not ties out of the pram, but kind of showed a lack of interest. But they went for it, and I loved his attitude. I loved his interviews he's had since, and it's because of the managers and the players that have been involved that have made the competition as successful as it has been. Because the promotion side of things, it still has to pick up. But the likes of Mickey Graham, the likes of the Cavan boys, and the Sligo lads obviously as well, their attitude towards this competition has been outstanding.
Yeah, look, it's great. Like Mickey's as a player, he was a very intelligent corner forward. You know, he knew how the game went, and he's kind of brought that into the Cavan system. You know, like Cavan from years previous would have played like more on passion and nearly like a Mayo, like played with the crowd and stuff like that. Now you can notice, like, some of our best players are our smartest players. You know, like they know where to be and when to be there. Like Jason McLaughlin there, outstanding. You know, yesterday he just knows where to be, cutting ball out, They press the kick out really well. He just knows, Mickey, to be fair to him, he knows what he's really good at and where he needs help. And that's what a good manager is. Like, he has Shawnee Johnson there in with the forwards, like, clearly doing good work, like 17 points from play. That's a phenomenal stat. And then there's Ricey there to help out in defence, and then Martin, Corey and Andre. He's got a really good team together. And like the best managers, they don't think they know it all, and Mickey, to be fair to him, knows where he needs his little bit of extra expertise, and he's bringing the whole thing together. And look at it, it's been a real successful year for Cavan. The goal was get out of Division 4. They done that. Then look at it was obviously to get to an Ulster final, but put in a real good stint in Ulster as well, and put themselves back on the map. Everyone's talking about them again, and the teams gone by previously probably would have faltered and lost to a Sligo there, but Cavan now are playing up to the tag as favourites and are in the final like everyone really predicted, but it's just another step. And if they can win silverware, then it just shows that Cavan are really going in the right trajectory at the minute. And look,
see, when you talk about Mickey Graham there, like since his time with Molnacta, was it 4 years ago? He was involved with Cavan then, and everything you hear has been so good about him, and that's why it just baffles me that Cavan found themselves in Division 4. When any time I've watched Cavan, when they champion the big days, they're we've come away thinking they're impressive. There's a wee bit about them here, so it just baffles me to see how they managed to end up in Division 4, because you can argue about they don't give a hoot about the league and it was all about championship. Now we've known that, we've had this argument. That's the wrong way to go at. That's across the board. You need to be in the higher divisions to making a good tilt at the championship here.
I don't think it was that the league wasn't a big thing. Like, it was a big thing, and it was kind of like a transition of players. I'd say that Mickey was trying to put his own kind of style in place, and it just takes a little bit of time. He got his feet under the table, and it just didn't work out in league campaigns. Got to an Ulster final. The league was bad, got to an Ulster final, lost to a good Donegal team. And then, like, that was the stepping stone then that we thought would kick us on. Then we didn't have a great league. And I'm not blaming COVID, but like, it was a half a league when we went from Division 3 to 4. It was a one-off game against Wicklow. Wicklow came out the more hungry. We've seen this loads of times before. Came out more hungry, got the rub of the green. Cavan just played poor, and bang, Division 4. It's just one of them things. And it would have been worse if Cavan didn't. Like, when you get into them divisions, sometimes you start to play under yourself. You get dragged into a dogfight. But Cavan in Division 4, to be fair to them, they played classy football, won each game comfortably enough, 5-6 points, didn't go running away with it. They just played the percentages, won the games, and it stood to them now coming forward. Because if they had went and hammered teams out the gate in Division 4, they would have come in against Donegal, and they wouldn't have been in a good place at all, because they would have been too comfortable. Mickey chopped and changed the whole way through the league. Loads of lads got game time, so you're kind of bearing fruit from that now. Like, you've lads coming back in from injury, and you've just as good of players on the bench. Like, when you're looking at the Cavan squad, they're not as household names, but like, there's 24, 25 players there that are actually vying for a spot every week. So it's actually quite a tough job to be saying you're not playing this week. Like, there's Conor Madden. Like, he pretty much won the Ulster final for them against Donegal, with some outrageous scores. He can't get in the team. So
I was just going to say, where's he now? I can't believe that.
So that just kind of shows where you're at the minute in Cavan, where someone with the quality of Conor Madden is struggling to get into the team. And that's a huge plus for Cavan. And once we keep these boys together for as long as we can, like, it's going to improve. Like, years previous, we were losing players hand over fist. You could have been losing 2-3 top quality players every year. Like, you were losing David Givney, Eugene Keaton, Martin Dunn. Like they were massive players for us, and they were gone. At this moment in time, Cavan are keeping their players. And it's a huge plus. But I just think the league thing was just a blip, couple of games, And sometimes when you get in a rut of losing a couple of games, you just can't get yourself back going again. And I think that was a huge thing for Cavan in the league, dropping down. But I think momentum's coming with them now, and it's been really good for them this year. Winning Division 4, it really set the ball rolling for their championship.
Silverware always helps, and I suppose the chance to get into another final now and the chance for silverware again, it just kind of brings the group closer together and makes people want to be more part of that. But I suppose in the other semi-final, it was an all-Leinster affair, Westmeath and Offaly, a bit more comfortable. Westmeath were hugely impressive, but I suppose before the game, unfortunately for Offaly, Niall Darby was ruled out with a crucial ligament injury. John Mahon was saying how shattered he was, and it was a tough blow for Niall, who's been playing well all year, and I think he's at 33 or 34, so it's a tough one to come back from. So hopefully we can see him again with Offaly next season, but it's a tough blow for him. But it just didn't happen for Offaly. Westmeath looked incredibly impressive, I thought, Eamon.
Yeah, Westmeath looked so good, listen, we have to call out to the fact that the Offaly, they've put up resistance in spells, but Westmeath moved the ball really, really well, really impressed. And, that seemed to be the theme yesterday, that there were some great aspects of attacking play on display. And I wonder, is the attacking easier to coach, good attacking play than the defensive stuff, collective defensive defending? That's one of the things that came away from the two games yesterday. Why are we seeing so much good going forward, but going back? And I mean that collectively. There's some good individual defensive battles yesterday, but as a defensive unit, why was there such a difference in class? And that seems to be when the top Division 1 teams, they're all about, shutting it out. And then you can argue that philosophy. There's more enjoyable games yesterday. More free-flowing. And maybe that's something going forward for, coaches. If we want to make the games more enjoyable, let's more emphasis on attacking play, but we're going to suffer at the other end. But no, Westmeath were really, really impressed with them.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the games, especially the games that we'd be, I suppose, giving out about, and people try to make them more complicated, but I think a lot of it is teams are going out trying not to lose at times instead of going out to win, whereas the games yesterday were very much open, free-flowing, and Westmeath obviously were very strong, but they still left an awful lot behind them as well. Offaly, look, they're a very young group. They're very reliant on a couple of the under-20s, they've won the All-Ireland recently. So, look, they'll be coming good, but Cian, I suppose, looking at the game yourself, and I suppose you'll be trying to look at it from a neutral, but you've very firmly got your Cavan hat on. There's a lot to worry about there. The likes of John Heslin there is moving really well up in the forwards for Westmeath, and Ray Cannellan there around the middle. He's a powerhouse. So, Cavan will have a lot of work to do going into this final.
Yeah, going forward, Westmeath look very, very dangerous. McCartan at 10 has some pace, O'Toole at 11, These boys are serious footballers and comfortable off both feet, running a pace, kicking scores. And Heslin, when he's on song, he's as good as anyone in the country. But Offaly left themselves wide open. You could drive a bus down the middle in the first half, and then they weren't quick enough on the line to go, right, this is an issue. And then Westmeath were way too far in front then. It was just hard to see what Offaly were bringing to the table in the first half. They were neither pressing the kick out nor sitting back. They were just caught in that middle third, and it was just hard to see. I'd say Westmeath were kind of licking their lips going this is too easy. But when they got to grips with the whole thing, Offaly then caused Westmeath a lot of trouble in the second half. So I'd say, look, at Cavan will be doing plenty of work on them, and Westmeath will be doing plenty of work on Cavan. So it'll be trying to stop Westmeath getting in for goals will be a huge thing for Cavan, because they got in free flow and in for goal chances and were comfortable putting them away. So look at it, it's the two best teams in my opinion in the Tailteann Cup are in the final. I was delighted to see them avoid each other in the semis, because I thought to myself, if both teams are playing their best football, it'll be a really tasty final. So if they can both bring what they brought yesterday, it's going to be a cracker. But look, as a Cavan supporter, you really hope that we shut up shop a wee bit better than we did yesterday. But I think yesterday possibly a small blip for Cavan, because Cavan in general are fairly good and secure. Like as Eamon would be able to say, from when we played Donegal, like there was huge amount of turnovers in that D, and yesterday, maybe it's the Croke Park factor. As I said before, it's very hard to do a blanket defence in Croke Park. It's so wide and big, and it's just tricky. So I don't know. It's wide open. Like I knew Westmeath were decent. I knew they were good, but yesterday they really put me under pressure to be confident for next week, because they played so well. But it's going to be a tasty game.
Yeah, like Westmeath are obviously very good, and like just going back to Offaly, I think they're probably lucky to have Anton Sullivan buzzing around the place, because he really was everywhere, and he was kind of carrying the fight for long stages. But it was a strange one I felt by Offaly, the way they didn't press any of the Westmeath kickouts. They kind of left them have it. Like, I don't know, like then when they eventually did, it was too late. Like, can you find a reason for that, Eamon, or is it just to try and mind the house a small bit, or get your shape? It was a strange one for me watching it. Why you wouldn't?
It's a strange one now. It's not a case. I think the three of us are about long enough to say that we're there. You can make arguments for dropping off in a kicker. We're past that stage where people say, "Oh, you have to press up. You have to press up." You can make an argument.
Yeah.
Just to take maybe possible one of the things is to take away that transition to defence, where you're just set up on defence. Wherever way you're going to set up, you set up. And maybe they weren't confident. Maybe they looked at Westmeath and says, "Listen, this is a weapon of theirs. Let's." But it didn't look like that. It just didn't look like that there yesterday. It just looked like that they just didn't back themselves.
Yeah.
In terms of
a bit of a fear factor, maybe.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to your fear factor. They were more afraid. They were more afraid, and they just didn't really go after it. So it's hard. It's hard to when it's the same with everything. We're making an analysis of the game, and we're saying pressing off. But obviously there was talk during the camp, and they made a rational, which we'd like to think, a rational, logical decision to say this is the reason we're not going to go for that full press here. We're going to stand off, and we're going to let them walk into us, get the turnover, and maybe break then. But no, it was kind of disappointing to watch on and see that.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, they scored 216, which is good scoring, and you'd expect to win a lot of games with that. But like that, I think they will have regrets. But look, they're down a lot of bodies. They're very reliant on young lads. So look, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. From a Westmeath point of view, just listen to John Heslin after the game in his interview. Like that Croke Park argument we had earlier, how much of a big deal it was for them getting to Croke Park. And he mentioned about the young lads. He goes, you just get them the ball, especially in Croke Park, because it's so big and they do their thing. He was on about the supporters coming up, so it was good. And like even seeing the interview, like he was in great form. He was going on about enjoying the night now ahead and getting back to full training and being training for championship with the chance of silverware for the likes of Westmeath, now Cavan, in the heart of the summer is such a big thing for him. And like you mentioned, the younger lads like Larkin Dolan 2-1 yesterday, Cian. So like they have a couple of players there that Cavan are going to have to be careful of. O'Toole there on the 40, he had a unbelievable sidestep on him there. He got fouled for one in the first half right in front of goal, but I was actually getting dizzy watching him jinking off the left and the right. I didn't know which way he was going to go.
Yeah, like it's kind of like both teams in the final have no marquee. Well, you could argue the fact Heslin is the marquee for Westmeath, but like you can't just overemphasize all your defending on Heslin now. Where we maybe 3-4 years ago you keep Heslin quiet, you keep Westmeath quiet. Now, as you said, McCartan, O'Toole, these boys, these are dangerous lads, and they've pace in abundance. So like Cavan, like probably lucky there's 3 weeks, because both teams are going to have to do a lot of work on the other team, because like conceding 216 and Cavan conceding 114, neither management team will be happy with that, because if you concede that in a final and the other team are fairly tight in defence, most games is won with 114 or 215. in general you're not losing, so it's going to be, it's just, I think a huge thing is going to be around the middle, because Cavan aren't going to give Westmeath the kick out. There's no fear of that, definitely not. They're going to squeeze the life out of them. They've huge men around the middle, so it's just, I think that's where we possibly have the edge, is the height around the middle, and I think that could be playing into our wheelhouse. But the fear factor of that is, if you're not winning it and the pace Westmeath have, you can be under pressure. So it's one of them games that, I don't know, I was going through it last night. I was watching the golf and I was trying to figure out what is the best way to go about it. But you have to go and back yourself, Offaly didn't, as Eamon said, Offaly didn't back themselves. So then next to all, they found themselves 8-9 points behind. The game was gone. The game was gone at half time, so they then backed themselves and they brought it into the mix for the second half. Yes, Westmeath probably took the foot of the gas a wee bit too, but it's just one of them things. I think Cavan to be confident in their own ability. One-on-one defending, they'll be confident, and around the middle. So it's just, I think the middle third will be huge in this game. Whoever wins that will go a long way to winning the Tailteann Cup.
Yeah, and I suppose that there will be a lot of good individual battles going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing Galligan around the middle and Ray Connellan. They're two big men that can both open up the legs, so it'll be exciting to see, and I just hope both teams go out for the win and not try and contain each other in aim. And I suppose the two of us can look at it from neutral point of views. From the start, I've been Cavan Red Hot favourites, but just watching Westmeath, and my uncle's actually from Westmeath, so I'm under pressure to give them a bit of support. But I'm torn on it now, to be fair, after seeing the performance of Westmeath the weekend. I thought they were really impressive. But I suppose from your neutral point of view, which way would you be going? I suppose, and you would have seen Cavan long enough up
yeah, no, I still think it's hard to look past Cavan, from watching them this season and previous season and the championship. In the championship. And
this is killing me now. You're tipping Cavan.
Yeah,
getting there, Cian. I'm getting there. You better get nervous.
I'm going to put money on Westmeath. Cavan.
But listen, it's hard. The one thing about Westmeath is that, go back to that league form. They've been about the higher league, the higher divisions for longer, and it might be, Croke Park possibly more down through the old Leinster Championship. So they probably have a wee bit more kind of, what's the word for, just about in terms of the mentality for that day in Croke Park. But it's just the way Cavan and the way, Cian talked about the backroom team, the Cavan, they will look at that Westmeath team and they will just dismantle it in terms of what's the best way. And, that's this wee block now will leave them in good stead, and they'll just think they'll just get over the line.
Yeah, and the final is going to be on the same day as the All-Ireland semi-final, 9th of July. Do you think it's a good idea, or should have had a day on its own? I actually personally would prefer to see the Tailteann Cup final on the Saturday and the All-Ireland final on the Sunday. That's me. Obviously, the way it's run this year, it's going to be.
I think I would be with you in that, Darran, to have the All Ireland finals weekend where you're going on the Saturday and the Sunday. I don't know, would usually be knocking about the Kilmacud Sevens on the Saturday a few years, and there's a great buzz about it.
Yeah, I know. I know of it. I've no lads have gone up, but I've never gone myself. No, but
the crowd's up, and everybody's having a few pints afterwards, and there's doubling that night of before the All Ireland final. It's great crack, and you could make a football festival of it now. But I understand. Listen, I've listened to Fergal McGill and when he outlaid his points in terms of they want to give the Tailteann Cup their own. They don't want it overshadowed, because the reality of it is we can only put so much coverage. The papers can only carry so much GA coverage. The radio can only talk about so much, and maybe it's better just to say Tailteann Cup, here's your build-up spot, here's your marketing or whatever way you want to put it, and then say here's the All-Ireland senior final here. But the idea of that football festival would be very, very appealing.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Cian?
Yeah, look, it's probably best in a semi-final. But like if you've Kerry Dublin on the 9th, Kerry Dublin, that semi-final will take some tickets. Like that probably potentially could fill Croke Park on its own. Now the GAA are probably smart enough to have it on the opposite side, but like if Armagh and Derry get themselves into an All-Ireland semi-final, there'll be not too many people in Armagh and Derry not wanting to go up to that as well. So then you're really clambering for tickets. What did you have, 16 or 17,000 at the game yesterday? So you're gonna clear 20,000 anyway between Westmeath and Cavan comfortably for a final. So how many for argument's sake, Armagh, Derry, how many are you going to bring to that? Like, will it fill it? It potentially could, like.
Yeah, sure, even for the quarterfinals, and we were on about, bringing them around, and I was kind of saying about going to Páirc Uí Chaoimh for it, but by all accounts, they're expecting 60 or 70,000 on Sunday, at the Kerry Mayo game, and at the double header Sunday. So, look, the numbers seem to be up, but if they did do it as an All-Ireland festival weekend, we'd probably need tents or something and stay in a field somewhere with the price of hotels. So maybe we do.
That's a podcast weekends for another day. Yeah. There's hotels in Dublin.
Yeah, I'm going up Sunday, and I'm getting badly stung now, to be fair. So my expenses next week, Matt, are going to be fairly high. But yeah, no, look, all in all, I think it was a great weekend. Two very good games of football, two, from a neutral point of view, really enjoyable games. And I'm looking forward to the final. I hope it builds up to our expectations. And like that, I genuinely believe the only thing lacking this year from the Tailteann Cup has been from a promotional sense. And I do think that is something that will just improve year on year. And I just think all the teams, players and managements that have been involved in it this year need to take credit as well, because everyone's gone in with the right attitude. And I think the Westmeath manager said after, what does winning a semi-final mean? He goes, more time together. That's what it's about. And you can't improve if you're not together. And it's been brilliant. So, lads, I want to say a big thanks for joining me today. Sorry it was a bit all over the place with me not being able to get up. Cian, don't get too comfortable in my seat. And we'll see now if you're laughing in a couple of days' time with your skills challenge out in the open. So, I'm delighted to be saying that I'm going to be joined now by Limerick manager Billy Lee. How are things, Billy?
No bother, Darran. Thanks for having me. All's good. Trying to adapt back into normal life now after last week.
I know. I was going to ask, the dust has kind of settled now after the Cork game, and you probably had time to reflect. But you must be delighted with how the season went and the progress the boys have made.
Yeah, overall we're happy with the progress. It was a good year for Limerick football, and look, as always, we're trying to make sure that we sustain that now as we go up to Division 2, and that'll be a challenge for us. But look, we'll reflect and review the year with the lads and the management, and see where we go from there.
Yeah, and it's you're after your sixth season in charge, which is a fair old commitment. Obviously, I only know about the county game from the playing side, and I can only imagine the commitment that goes in behind the scenes that no one else sees. It's hard going, but you must be delighted, and even, I suppose, the way people from outside Limerick are looking at Limerick football now as well, because obviously when I was coming in with Kerry, Limerick were obviously competing, and you're going in the right direction. And for me, I always look at things from a Kerry and a Munster point of view. Munster is starting to get stronger again, and obviously Clare, Cork, Limerick in Division 2 next year. It's exciting times.
Yeah, it is. Look, it is great, and I suppose, look, I think we all have a bit to find to try and get up to the level Kerry are at. But look, for us, we're striving to go to the next level, whatever that is. I think the Munster final would have shown that Kerry are a good couple of steps ahead of us, certainly, and so we'll try and focus on the next step in the journey and see can we aspire to get to there, and do all we can to get there. People, football in Limerick would be down the pecking order of field sports, but look, I never worry about that. I'm around the scene long enough, 35 years, and we just get on with it, and try to push our best foot forward, and bring lads in and let them enjoy it. It is, as you rightly said, Dan, it's huge work. It never leaves your mind. I just happened to track the number of hours I was doing on a daily basis, actively involved this year. Just a friend of mine just said just to see what it looked like, and you're looking at actively doing something about 5.5 hours a day I was doing. Whereas it never leaves the mind, though. You're lying in bed first thing in the morning or last thing at night. There's things going through the head. So it's really is full time for everyone. And I can only imagine what it's like when, the John Kileys and the Jack O'Connors of this world. It is huge commitment.
It's funny you mentioned that actually at the time, and it was only this weekend a fella said to me, well, first of all, he said, "You're well retired now," and I told him I was still playing with the club. He kind of laughed at me, but he was asking me, was I involved in any coaching, and I said, no, not at the moment. I'm still trying to play away. And I did mention that. I said, I just don't think I'd be able to put in the time, the effort. So, like, when I think about the county game, it's just a million miles away from anything I'd be thinking. I do think people forget about that, the time, the effort. And like you said, you get up in the morning, the first thing you think about is the last training session or the next training session. And that's why with McEntee there, with Mead, it was so hard to see the abuse and stuff, because people are just so short-sighted and they can't see the work that goes in behind the scene and everything that goes on. Because it's not just football, I find now, it's man management. You're actually a bit of a counsellor for these guys, because there could be 30, 40 players and they're kind of relying on you to, I suppose, see how they're feeling, not just playing as well. And I suppose something I was never, I suppose everything with Kerry when I was involved was short. It was short term. It was one season. And, when you went in with Limerick, and I suppose you were starting on a long-term project and you lost, I think it was 17 or 18 players. How would you get lads to buy into something that, they mightn't see results straight away, but they just have to stick with the process and stick going and stay together and believe in what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I think at first look, I think people, I suppose the general public, they see what we're doing, all the county managers hurling of football up and down the country, and just expect so much, because they just think they I didn't understand, to be honest with you, what was involved when I first got involved. I remember having the conversation with Paul and Kinnerk at the academy one morning. He was telling me he was with Clare and they were meeting up an hour and a half before training, and I was looking at him thinking, this is mad stuff. I said, what are you at that for? Within 6 weeks of going in, I was at it myself. It is unbelievable. And everyone at this game feels that if they're not doing that, they're not doing it right. So everyone gives everything they can to it. It's very, very unfortunate when people, feel that there's abuse online or whatever it is. That's just not right at any level, And it's unfortunate for Mandy. And when you see his kids having to come out and defend him, I just think that's not what the J is about. The J is not what any sport is about, I suppose. Ultimately, everyone's doing it. We're not professionals. Everyone's acting like professionals, either management teams, players, and you do your best. And look, if you look at the last 11 years, go back to from 2011 to 2022, there's only been 5 counties in All-Ireland finals. So invariably, it comes back to the same teams nearly year in, year out. So you've got to find we have to find what we deem success year on year. And I suppose when we lost all the players and lads weren't interested in coming in, what we did was, we just got a group together who were keen. They were very, very keen to represent and play county football, and we just bonded them as a team. We got, we didn't focus too much on results at that point. We got them to know each other. So let's say Billy Lee might know Dan Sullivan, but did he actually know him? Did he know, what's going on in his life? Where was he working? Was he in college? So we started doing a lot of, certain times in the year, 2 or 3 times a year, we have nights out or around Christmas time, and fellas then started to bond with each other, and they're really, really good friends now after all that. And we did that for a couple of years, and then when we had that cemented, we left it to the boys to kind of manage that side of it, and we started to focus then back in on the football. In them period of time, they were doing a lot of S&C work to get up to what's required for this level, and even now, after a number of years of it, there's still more work to be done in that area, So that was a lot of it, and a big part of what we do is we make sure we're enjoying it. There's always times that it's not enjoyable, and there's always times that, you can't be putting enjoyment first, but ultimately we want fellas enjoying it. If you're travelling an hour or so to training one way, why would you be doing that if you're not enjoying it, So that's a big part of it, a bit of fun and, challenging ourselves. And we set the bar at incremented every year. We didn't try to be Dublin and Kerry from the get-go. At the time, we were down at the bottom of Division 4, so the immediate objective was to try and get to the top end of Division 4 and see could we compete there. And we took it one step at a time, and it'll be no different for next year,
Yeah, and I like the way you said about enjoying it as well. And I always found that the more I actually thought about football or tactics, the worse I actually played. And sometimes the less of a message I got going out in the pitch, the better I played. And you could ask me what I was thinking about during the game, I couldn't tell you. It was like my mind was blank and I was just enjoying it. And it was a great way to be. And like even getting the fellas to know each other, it was always, when I was asked about getting involved in coaching at some stage, I was there. The only role I could actually see myself doing was as a selector that could actually go around a training nearly on my own and keep an eye on fellas and say, well, their Billy's not in a great form the last couple of weeks, something must be going on. And I always found that was something that we get so bogged down on tactics and fitness that people forget at times that these players they're young men, they've stuff going on outside of football, and if you're happy outside of football, things are always that bit easier. So it was actually interesting to see that was the direction you went in, getting these boys kind of comfortable together and building that bond. Because I always say, I think Tailteann Sullivan said it in our dressing room one year, a fella I want to meet after I retire isn't the fella liking my tweets and sharing my Instagram posts. It's the fella who's going to bail me out when I'm in trouble there, or when my man gets away. So it was always something that stuck with me, just about building that bond. But just going back to Limerick now, and there must be a good buzz around the county now, obviously with the footballers going well and the hurlers and the footballers in the Munster final. It must be great, just buzz around the place. And obviously next year, Division 2, having Dublin hopefully coming down to the Gaelic grounds, it'll be exciting times for the boys. So they must be looking forward to even getting back into training fairly soon.
Yeah, they will. There is a good buzz about the football, and obviously the hurling is going well, and all J people in Limerick and outside of J even are delighted with that. We waited for so long to get success. You were seeing Kilkenny's and the Kerrys and the Dublins. I often wondered, do we ever get to see lift the Lee McCarthy? But thankfully we've done, and we're enjoying the success the lads are having, and it's given a great impetus to people, and the feel good factor of being from Limerick. And look, it's great that we were able to get in on the back of it, and just there's an old saying, like the rising tide rises all boats, and lads, their club mates with a lot of the boys who hurl, so they could see mistakes, so they started, I suppose, subconsciously trying to emulate what they're doing in terms of how they prepare and challenge themselves. And I suppose human nature don't want to be forgotten in it, and they constantly challenge themselves. So it's great, and it is great for a lot of, there's about 13 or 14 football only clubs, and of them 13 or 14, about 7 of them would have sister clubs in hurling. So there's a limited pocket, and hurling will always be the number one GA game in Limerick, but people are delighted, and we get a lot of support on the ground, from people and well wishers, and people are just delighted. And I suppose anytime we feel that the green jersey is to the fore, we're smiling and happy and enjoying it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, have you been following the Tailteann Cup since it started? Because I was actually curious to know, obviously, getting promotion, and you obviously weren't competing, which was great. You were going competing for the Sam Maguire. Would it have been a competition that you would have liked to have competed in this year, or would you think it would have helped the progress another bit? Even the chance to get back to Croke Park and maybe lift silverware in Croke Park? Because I was only thinking about, I suppose, Cavan there, getting promotion from Division 4, winning silverware in Croke Park, and they have the opportunity now to, a few of them players get to climb the steps of the Hogan stand twice in 1 year, which is just special, no matter what you're collecting.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, firstly, I think it's going to be a great competition. I think it was required. If we were there, we'd have gone full hog at it for sure. Whatever, there's no two ways about it. It allowed lads. I think Jack has mentioned it that it allows Westmeath to stay together for longer in the course of the year, and we'd have seen it the very same way, if you could have got the proper action, better still, and better still if you could go up the steps of the Hogan stand to collect the trophy, so yeah, we'd I suppose at the start of the year, we didn't start thinking about it. I remember someone asking me, had we had thoughts in the championship, and at the time, whether it was Tailteann Cup or Sam Maguire, and I had no thoughts in it until the league. I think the league is such a competitive, everyone just focuses on that, and then you focus on the first round of the championship that you're playing in. And I think there's only going to be after then, if the losing teams are going to start focusing, I'm in Sam Maguire or I'm in Tailteann Cup, but I think it's great. I think we got the 2 matches just on television on the Sunday and all the games on, and I think that's what these competitions need. That just bit of course, people are interested in the higher grade of the competitions, whatever sport it is. But it's great that the lads, and I think we saw yesterday how good Westmeath can be. Offaly are a right good side. We'd have come across them in challenges over the years, and they played them in the league last year, and really, really good. A lot of good footballers, and I think they'll come again. But Westmeath are a classy outfit. I would have thought they would have been one of the teams to get promotion in Division 3 this year. So look, it'll be an inter-training game. Cavan are only much the champions, and was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah.
And Westmeath. So yeah, I'm not sure what day it's on. Is it on before the?
I think it's on before the semi-final, the 9th.
The Sunday, is it?
Yeah,
the Sunday game. Yeah. So it'll be great for both counties that they're up there, and there'll be a big crowd there. Obviously, whatever semi-finals on the Sunday, people will be going to that. So I think it's great, and hopefully it'll continue to be like that.
Yeah. No, I was curious to see. What's your opinion on it? Because obviously, it was so late knowing if you were going to get promoted and who was going to be playing in it. Because it was always interesting. Because just talked to a few players that obviously weren't playing, and they were kind of saying to me that it actually would have been nice to play in it this year. Do you know what it was going? Because everybody bought into it, and it seems to be even the 2 games a weekend, there was nothing negative about any game. Both teams, or all 4 teams, going out to win the game, so it was exciting. And like you said about the Offaly, they're a young team, and they have a bit of success underage. But I just want to say thanks for taking the time to join me today. I'm getting used to all this interviewing crack, and I always feel weird asking questions. But when the lads were telling me we were going to get a chance to talk to you, I was looking forward to it, because I think it was around 5 or 6 years ago, I was with a fitness company, and I was hearing about, it was only when you took over, and all the work that was going in underage for Limerick. And there was a Twitter page, it was a Limerick football Twitter page, and I started following it just out of curiosity to watch the progress. So I've been I hide it back as a Limerick supporter, following the football in the last couple of years, and obviously hoping now for more Kerry Limerick Munster finals, because I remember the days of John Galvin catching balls over the crossbar himself in Darran competition. Yeah.
I would have been involved at the time with Liam, Jesus, we won't forget that too easily anyway, But they were great days. The different times back then, Dan. Obviously SNC wasn't as, I think, the days of trying to get back up today are going to be more challenging for counties like us. You've got a lot of SNC, and teams are balanced out in that. Sometimes you might have got an edge on teams that might have been thinking further down the line. Not that I'm saying that Kerry were thinking that at the time, but the SNC now is taking it to a new level altogether, and it's hard to bridge the gaps, But they were great days, and 3 and 4 and 10. They were always in Killarney. Whatever it is about Killarney, there's always a sun shining.
Always for a Munster final, sun shining, and there's always a great buzz. It's just a great town for the Munster final.
It's fantastic. Thurles is another great place to go to, but it was great times. And actually great memories. Look, ultimately, I don't think people sit and look at their medals when they're finished playing. They think of the memories and the friendships they've made, and the support structures they have around them from their friends. And I think that's the ultimate of team sport,
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And to be honest, that's such a great place to leave it, because I think if I ask another question, I'll only ruin the interview. But thanks again, Billy, and hopefully I might catch you down here with dodos or in bunkers sometime.
We're down that part. I have my good friends down there. I'll call in for sure. Pat will say hello to Pat on yourself. I might have to spend a day or two.
Come down here to Ross Point. We'll look after you down the beach. Before we go today, we just want to pay our respects from everyone here at the G Hour to Damien Casey, his family, his friends, his teammates, following his tragic accident in Spain. He was a huge figure in Tyrone hurling, a legend at a game up there, and will probably go down as their greatest ever hurler. So we just want to pay our respects to Damien Casey and his family and all his friends and teammates. And a big thanks to Cian and Eamon for joining me today, and a huge mention to Billy Lee for joining me for the little interview. We'll be back next week with the All-Ireland quarterfinals taking place. See you then.